about 15 kilometers as a tributary to the river Benue. History has it that the lake was discovered by Bula Urbu in 1826, a great descendant of the Jibu dynasty who was sent to Ibi to look after the activities carried out by traders around the river. Bula later transformed the large-scale fishing activities into a fishing festival by members of the Ibi community. Thus began the annual Wunyo Fishing Festival, which has continued to serve as a unifying force for the people of Ibi and Taraba State in general.
It has started. The baby is coming. The Nigeria Rebirth Project, the beginning of a super nation. Join Her Excellency Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, wife of the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, mother of the nation and grand patron Nigeria Rebirth Project, at the official unveiling and flag-off of the Nigeria Rebirth Project on Thursday, 17th March 2016 at the Presidential Banquet Hall, Aso Villa, Abuja by 5 p.m. Highlights include the unveiling of the biggest unity art piece in Africa and the presentation of the Nigeria Rebirth Ambassadorial Award to Nigerian children. The Nigeria Rebirth Project is made possible by the blessing and leadership of His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, guests of honor, past presidents, heads of states, and their families, honorable ministers, governors and wives of governors of the 36 states and the FCT, honorable members of the 8th National Assembly,
Hello, Wednesday's package is looking good. Hear what the president said about what has now come to be known as the budget padding scandal. The perpetrators would not go unpunished. There is more about the president's meetings with the Saudi business community and Nigerians living in that kingdom. But what are the likely benefits of the president's shuttle to Saudi Arabia and Qatar? Our correspondent will examine this. Here at home, selected leaders of the governing All Progressives Congress met today. We'll tell you all about it. Plus, there's respite for some members of the National Assembly as they now seem secure following the pronouncement of the Supreme Court that it never asked them to vacate their seats. In other news, the Minister of Information and Culture has been speaking on the role of the media, especially in times of national crisis. But there's more ahead, only if you stay on News Extra with me, Aisha Bello Mustafa. A very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has formally confirmed the padding of the 2016 budget proposal submitted to the National Assembly and promised to ensure that those responsible are dealt with accordingly. The president, who broke his silence on the matter while addressing the Nigerian community in Saudi Arabia, lamented that the situation might affect the planned implementation of the zero-based budgeting format. Let's get the details from State House correspondent Adamu Sambo.
For Nigerians living in Saudi Arabia, their joy knows no bounds as President Muhammadu Buhari came calling. Apart from the sanity being restored in the way of doing things in Nigeria, thereby improving the country's image abroad, the people believe that the enormous goodwill the president enjoys from Saudi authorities will make their stay in the kingdom more fulfilling.
We are keenly following the great strides your government is making to sanitize the country from endemic corruption and the crippling security challenges. We fully support your efforts on these issues of national importance. We also believe that the slowly emerging economic policies you are putting in place will bring the country out of the wood.
President Buhari, who took time to respond to the questions agitating the minds of the people about Nigeria, said some of the policy measures introduced by his administration have started yielding results, especially the implementation of the Treasury single account.
By now, the central bank has moved 2.6 trillion naira. Now, this is money which normally at the end of the year, vouchers are raised, checks are written and then we get ready to face the following budget. But this time we have got it back, and we may end up this year by having a non-deficit budget instead of a deficit of over 2.3 trillion naira.
The Boko Haram elements, he said, have been dealt with decisively by the armed forces, while the fight against corruption is also on course.
This government will do everything within the provision of the Constitution to recover stolen funds and put an end to corrupt practices, and dealing decisively with anyone found wanting.
President Buhari, however, admitted failure in the planned implementation of the zero-based budgeting format.
What we wanted to do, which we haven't succeeded, to be honest, was that every head of department, ministry will come and defend his budget from zero. That means his own salary, his own allowances, to all the workers, and then their capital projects, how much the agreements, how much it was, how much progress was made, how much is required this particular financial year.
The president attributed the unfortunate situation to what he called the padding of the 2016 budgetary estimates submitted to the National Assembly.
Honestly, I was in all stages of government. Governor, minister, head of state, even chairman of PTF. I never knew what is called padding until this year. They allowed us to talk. I went and presented the budget, and then they decided to pad it. It's a very, very embarrassing and disappointing development, which I think we wouldn't allow to go unpunished.
That was President Buhari speaking with Nigerians in Saudi Arabia. The level of productivity of Nigeria's agriculture and solid mineral sectors will be enhanced by the federal government as a deliberate attempt to save the nation from the harsh effects of the falling oil prices in the global market. President Muhammadu Buhari said this at a meeting with leading members of the Council of Saudi Arabia. Here again is State House correspondent Adamu Sambo with the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari told the Saudi business community that Nigeria had regrettably depended too much and for too long on crude oil exports to the neglect of other resources, and is now paying a harsh price for failing to diversify its economy early enough. He said with the declining resources from the crude oil exports, the nation's hope of economic resurgence lies in the rapid development of its immense agricultural and solid minerals resources. While inviting the Saudi businessmen to invest in both sectors, the president said the government welcomes greater foreign investment in support of its efforts to rapidly diversify the economy.
And in order to diversify your economy, then you certainly need two key things. You need the new markets you intend to pursue. You need funding for those investments you intend to make. And there is, without a doubt, that a substantial amount of money in this region which has been put aside into sovereign wealth funds and institutional financing institutions which provide both equity and debt facilities for businesses. So, in other words, I think that the president has done a great job in terms of creating the enabling environment for these companies out of Saudi to come into Nigeria across the sector, invest in the sector, and also to create the opportunities for companies based out of Nigeria to partner with these opportunities and potentially create export markets for our own products and services.
The governors of Osun, Ogun, Katsina, Borno and Zamfara states who were in the closed-door meeting took turns to address the Saudi business community on investment possibilities in their states, assuring them of good returns. The chairman of the Council of the Saudi Arabian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Abdurrahman Al-Jamil, described agriculture as a very important area of investment for its members. He declared their willingness to invest in Nigeria, having been the leading investors already in Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Kenya and Ethiopia. From Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, while on a private visit to Medina, the city of the Holy Prophet, offered prayers for Nigeria. Adamu Sambo reports that the president flew in from Riyadh after high-level talks with the Saudi monarch King Salman bin Abdul Aziz.
Just like in Riyadh, President Muhammadu Buhari was given a rousing welcome at Medina International Airport as he arrived the city of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Governor of Medina, Faisal bin Salman bin Abdulaziz, led other senior Saudi government officials to receive the Nigerian leader. Also at the airport were the governors of Zamfara, Borno, Oshun, Ogun, and Katsina states, the National Security Advisor, Nigeria's charge of the affairs in Saudi Arabia, as well as the Consul General in Jeddah. President Buhari then proceeded to the mosque of the Holy Prophet Muhammad for the Zuhur prayers. And in a rare show of honor and respect, the Saudi authorities granted the Nigerian leader and his entire delegation access to Rawda, the most revered section of the mosque, close to the grave of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
There are particular, prayer locations within the mosque which are believed to be favored. For the Saudi authorities to open that section is the highest honor they can confer on a visiting leader. And that is what they did to President Muhammadu Buhari.
It is significant in so many respects. One, it provides another basis, or a very solid basis, on which further relationship could be built between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia. The world is changing so fast, and the relationships will have to be further strengthened in order to pursue and also enhance areas of common interest.
President Muhammadu Buhari and his entourage used the opportunity to pray fervently for Nigeria.
There is a sense that our efforts will be crowned with success when we pray to our Creator. And this is what the President has done in the course of this visit. He has led his delegation to profusely pray for Nigeria so that God, the Creator, would look at our situation, better our economy, better our own security, help the major objectives on which platform President Muhammadu Buhari was chosen, elected by Nigerians to lead them.
While in Medina, President Buhari is also expected to visit some historical places of the holy city. From Medina, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Back here in Abuja, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government is open to ideas that can shape efforts of government in moving the nation forward, stressing that the country has gifted men and women with ability to develop plans. This was while receiving members of the Institute of Strategic Management who visited him. Let's get more on this from State House correspondent Jide Onifade.
Responding to suggestions of members of the Institute, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo thanked the members for their ideas, which he noted will possibly shape some of the efforts of government in going forward. He says the nation does not lack good ideas and plans, but see the challenge as the capacity to get things done. The Vice President advised that people should be consistent, focus and follow up on plans and policies. The Executive Director of the Institute, Otiv Igbuzo, had earlier called for a comprehensive strategic plan for the country that can deal with the challenges that are facing the country. He also suggested a systematic approach to the change agenda because of the factor of resistance to change, and while commending government on its fight against corruption, urged it to look into the causes of corruption in order to prevent, detect and enforce discipline. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The tie that bind members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, are those of cooperation and protection of interest of member nations. With energy security central to the development of nations globally and the current dip in the revenues of producing nations, what is the significance of President Muhammadu Buhari's ongoing visits to the Gulf states of Saudi Arabia and Qatar? Energy correspondent Hawasalu Adama in this report links the dots. Take a look.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, contributes a little over 40% of global oil supply. Yet, the stabilization of the price of crude in the international market has remained the sole responsibility and a major challenge to OPEC in its over 5-decade history. So important is this function as it hinges on the coexistence anchored on safeguarding the interest of member-producing nations whose major income comes from the source. A source today threatened by a glut and subsequent crash in price. Saudi Arabia's position has remained if OPEC must cut, other non-OPEC producers must also cut to reduce the glut. Since its inception, Nigeria has remained a stabilizing voice in OPEC, but as a mono-economy, it is also hurting. Strategies are being adopted to diversify its economy, but it will do the country a lot of good, commentators say, if prices pick up. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari also doubles as Minister of Petroleum Resources. What then is the significance of his visit to Saudi Arabia and Qatar?
For now, until we are able to diversify our economy and find oil not so critical, we have to do everything we can to stabilize that industry. And that week ago, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar agreed on a freeze to production. And our president's visit really is meant to kind of further enhance the consensus that is emerging.
No doubt, Nigeria's major source of revenue can no longer hold the country together. But as a member of an organization founded on the principle of safeguarding the interest of member countries individually and collectively, President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to major OPEC countries at this time, experts say, is critical and should go beyond stabilizing the price of crude oil.
Look at the OPEC statute. It calls for cooperation among OPEC member countries beyond oil matters, in education, in culture, in technology, in many respects. If you're talking of the gas master plan in Nigeria, we stand to gain a lot from partnership with Qatar.
What Mr. President can also leverage on is the expertise. Now, Saudi Arabia also refined its own oil. If Nigeria can cooperate, if those two countries can cooperate in the area of refining, can Nigeria benefit from their own local experience?
A yearning domestic energy gap exists in country, one which commentators believe President Buhari's interaction during this trip should convert into gains for the people. In Abuja, I'm Hawa Salihu Adama, NTA News.
Thank you very much indeed, Hawa, for that insightful report. We now take you to the National Assembly, where the Senate has ordered for the immediate termination of a renewal contract between the Central Bank of Nigeria and a private company, System Specs, for serving single treasury account regime. Considering the Senate Joint Committee report at Wednesday's plenary, the lawmakers say the decision to stop the contract will save the country more than 25 billion naira. Let's get more on this from National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Garba Barnunkudu.
To investigate and consider the Joint Committee on Finance, Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions, chaired by Senator John Eno, was mandated by a Senate resolution to investigate alleged diversion of funds in the payment of service charges under the TSA regime. After due consultations and public hearing with relevant stakeholders, the committee described as a waste to pay such huge sums of money under this guise by charging 1% for all transactions. The committee recommended termination of the contract forthwith, while the company should only be paid 656.5 million naira instead of its claim of more than 7 billion naira for the period ending November 2015. The Senate directed Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure total refund of the deductions returned and present evidence of payment while expressing total support for the TSA policy.
The committee, based on Senate's unequivocal and unflinching commitment to the success of TSA implementation, further recommends that Senate direct all its standing committees to tighten their oversight role in order to ensure a hitch-free and smooth implementation of TSA.
The message we're sending out today is very clear, that in whatever is in interest of our great country, that will ensure proper use of funds. This Senate and this National Assembly Senate will stand firmly for that.
And towards addressing the problem of gridlock at Apapa ports, Senate considered and adopted its report of Committee on Marine Transport.
Government agencies like Nigerian Ports Authority and the Federal Ministry of Works to begin the process of removing structures on right-of-ways and other locations that are impeding smooth traffic flow.
There was also a motion to stop alleged unwholesome practices by MultiChoice Nigeria, owners of DSTV, by Senator Isa Hamman Misau from Bauchi State.
The Senate acknowledges that this motion is of public interest as a lot of football-loving Nigerians follow the English Premier League on DSTV, with the company enjoying monopoly of broadcast in the country.
You pay monthly subscription, whether you watch the program or not, the money is gone. In as much as we don't want any company to come from outside the country to enjoy any monopoly, I believe we just have to make sure that our laws allow other competitors to come in.
We need to ensure that the Consumer Protection Council will live up to their responsibilities.
Also at Wednesday's plenary, a bill for the establishment of the National Unity and Peace Corps, sponsored by Senator Binta Masi Garba from Adamawa State, was read for the first time. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Garba Bernokudu, NTA News.
In another development, the House of Representatives is to investigate the $260 million contract awarded by the National Petroleum Investment Management Service in 2014 for the ExxonMobil Usan Deep Water Project. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko has the details.
As part of measures to ensure due process in the award of contracts, the House has resolved to investigate the contract awarded by the agency, alleged to be fraudulent, as moved by Representative Babatunde Kolawole from Ondo State.
This contract was awarded without approval from the NNPC board and the NNPC Group Executive Committee.
Members also resolved to investigate the embargo placed on foreign training and international travel by public servants.
The whole application of the directive will impact negatively on capacity building.
This motion should be taken seriously, and that this ban should be lifted.
We are borrowing to fund our budget. So is it out of the borrowed money we will now be sending people on training? Mr. Speaker, there is no training that cannot be simulated.
Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. Nay. The ayes have it.
Also adopted was the motion urging the federal government to adopt urgent measures to revive education in Bama, Ngala, Kalabalge, Borno State, and entire Northeast Zone, moved by Representative Mohammed Sharif from Borno State.
That children of school age are no longer in school due to the lack of schools in the internally displaced persons camps.
We are breeding children that are actually, going to be another problem for us if urgent attention and action is not taken immediately.
The House, on the matter of urgent public importance, urged the federal government to take proactive measures towards checking the spread of Zika virus into Nigeria, as moved by Representative Reginald Emeka from Anambra State. The motion on the need for the federal government to intervene in the devastating erosion in Mikang, Kwampan and Shendam Federal Constituency of Plateau State by Representative John Bull Shekarau from Plateau State was also adopted.
To urge the Ecological Fund Office to reconstruct the damaged culvert and bridges in the areas.
A total of 11 motions were considered. 6 bills were passed at first reading. This included a bill for an act to amend the Pension Reform Act, and that to amend the Armed Forces Act. And away from plenary, Speaker Yakubu Dogara has assured council members of the Business Law of the Nigerian Bar Association that the House is ready to partner them in reforming business laws to attract more investors into the country.
We constituted a committee, we impaneled a committee chaired by revered jurors. So I'd like to implore you to take this opportunity, seize this opportunity so that you can engage with the committee specifically on laws that affect business environment in Nigeria.
The Speaker implored them to always expand their knowledge through constant workshop and seminars from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Moving on to the judiciary now, the Supreme Court says at no time did it order the National Assembly members elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) from Anambra State to vacate their seats. This is effectively the import of a ruling delivered by the Apex Court on Wednesday, even though the court declined jurisdiction to grant INEC's motion to provide interpretation for its earlier judgment. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo tells us more.
The Supreme Court realized that politicians had used that earlier judgment to cause confusion in the polity, and so, while declining jurisdiction in order not to fall foul of its processes, still went ahead to ask some vital questions which put paid to any perceived confusion, if there was any, in that earlier judgment. The court struck out your motion but still gave a clarification.
INEC was certain that there was nothing in it that asked Ogwebegu Group to take over the functions of National Executive Committee. And in paragraph 7 of our affidavit, we stated clearly that those who are in the National Assembly now were nominees of the National Executive Committee of the PDP. So how can you now want to, from the back door, bring in people who are not nominated by the National Executive Committee?
To look at the Supreme Court's refusal to assume jurisdiction on INEC's request for interpretation alone would be elementary in the light of the very probing questions which Justice John Inyang Okoro, who wrote the lead judgment, posed on his earlier judgment.
For PDP, we got what we needed, and that is to have the court make a pronouncement as to whether the judgment they delivered had anything to do with substituting representatives at the Senate and at the House of Representatives. So it puts paid to the fact that nothing has changed.
There is no confusion at all because the court never at any time said or pronounced that the AGK Ogwebegu-led executive was to take over the functions. No, that is not the issue.
He also asked if the issue of the Anambra PDP legislators was at any time an issue before the Supreme Court after their elections had been litigated through the election petition tribunals and the Court of Appeal, which was the terminal point.
First of all, it was not even before the court. The court cannot pronounce on something that was not before them.
The Supreme Court unanimously agreed that upholding the Federal High Court's recognition of Ejike Ogwebegu's chairmanship did not amount to him taking over the duties of the National Executive on the party primaries.
Some people, out of their own selfish purposes, have continued to misguide the general public. Even the press has been misguided by these same people, telling them what the Supreme Court has not decided. This will never say they should go and sack people at National Assembly. The
Supreme Court warned lawyers to always guide their clients on the proper interpretation of court pronouncements. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
We're sorry for the poor sound in parts of that report. For a bit on political matters, select leaders of the All Progressive Congress APC, drawn from the party's national headquarters, the legislative and executive arms of government, had a consultative meeting on issues affecting the party and the nation. The meeting, which held at the Vice President's conference room, was said to be very useful and resourceful towards achieving the goals of the party and the government. Among those present at the meeting include Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Bukola Saraki, Chairman of the party John Oyegun, leaders of the party Adebisi Akonde, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and former President Atiku Abubakar. In the meantime, the national chairman of the APC, John Oyegun, says the All Progressive Congress APC government has competent hands that will effectively deliver the party's change agenda. He was speaking when he received the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Muhammad Musa Bello, who was on a visit to the APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Ismail Musa has the details.
Oyegun noted that the party, with its people's-oriented mission, has carefully selected capable hands to accord the nation the much-desired socio-economic development. The failure of past administrations to diversify the nation's economy, the national chairman said, is responsible for the current economic hardship occasioned by the fall in oil price.
The challenge before us now to be able to make the Nigerian people see the reality and the enormity of the change that faces this nation.
The FCT minister, who is visiting the party's national secretariat for the first time after his appointment, expressed his commitment towards ensuring rapid development at the nation's seat of power.
The assignment that I was given for the FCTA is quite an enormous assignment, and I'm sure our dear party will first and foremost judge me on how effective I've been able to discharge the assignment.
With the FCT Area Council elections slated for March 19, 2016, the national chairman also promised to support the FCT chapter of the party to ensure its victory at the polls. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
The federal government has expressed satisfaction with the performance of the media since it came into power. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said this when members of the International Press Institute visited him in Abuja. Anthony Fosun has the details.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed told members of the International Press Institute, led by Kabiru Yusuf, that government is impressed with the conduct of the Nigerian media since it came into power.
Especially in our anti-corruption, fight, in our national security awareness campaign, in our fight against terrorism. I think the media has done very well. Of course, the media and the government anywhere in the world would never agree on all issues. But I think where it matters most, we've agreed. And I'm happy too that the media gradually is yielding to our call, which is that in a time of emergency, in a time of crisis, the media cannot afford to be neutral.
The minister said the International Press Institute, whose mandate it is to protect journalists and bring to the fore issues that weigh them down, the federal government, he said, is equally committed to the welfare of journalists in Nigeria.
When we were there in the opposition, we worked together very, very harmoniously with the IPI. And there's no reason why we should not work together now. Because what we stand for, especially as Minister of Information, which is the welfare, the security and safety of the practitioners, should also be the major concern of this ministry. So I believe that we have a meeting place.
Kabiru Yusuf, on his part, said the visit is to solicit support from the minister and make the institute vibrant in Nigeria. He added that if Nigeria can host the 2017 edition of the institute's annual conference, it will further open Nigeria to the world. This year's International Press Institute General Conference will hold in Doha, Qatar in April this year. In Abuja, Anthony Fosun, NTA News.
Do stay with us here on News Extra. Still to come, National Assembly Anti-Corruption Joint Committee partners United States Department of State. Details of this and more in the second part. Join us again.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, Only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
As the sun rises over the hills of Abuja, so too dawns a new way of life and exquisite standard of living. Enjoy your own originally designed and quality-built home in the serene and secure environment of Sunrise Hills. Experience this uplifting lifestyle with breathtaking views of the city. Rise above. Sunrise Hills is unlike anything you've ever seen before. A new way of life is dawning in the heart of Nigeria.
If you work hard and sow, you deserve a good harvest. That's only fair. If you study hard, you deserve good grades. That's only fair. If you train hard, you deserve to win the prize. That's only fair. If you work hard as an employee, you should have something to show for it. That's only fair. At Premium Pension, we understand it's what you put in that guarantees a secure future. Talk to us today about your pension plan. Premium Pension. The future starts now.
Our founding fathers worked to establish certain standards of governance. Some of their successors behaved like spoiled children, breaking everything and bringing disorder to the house.
The leaders at that time, as well as those of us that followed them, were patriotic. They went into politics to serve, but not to be served.
It is people doing things wrong and not being sanctioned that led to this escalation.
What is going on now? We are beginning to lift up the quality of leadership.
We must not succumb to hopelessness and defeatism. We can fix our problems.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
The National Veterinary Research Institute from Plateau State, in conjunction with the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade Canada, invites stakeholders and the general public to the official commissioning of its Biosafety Level 3 laboratory for the diagnosis of highly infectious diseases, to be performed by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Chief Audu Innocent Obe, OFR, on Thursday, 25th February 2016 at MVRI VOM. Time, 11 a.m. prompt. Announcer, Dr. David Shamaki, Acting Executive Director, MVRI VOM.
Most people avoid the tough jobs. We're different. We're not here to complain that things are broken. We're here to fix them. You need someone that will take the tough decisions and stand by their word. To do that, you need the best of the best. Physically, mentally. So it doesn't matter if it's creating opportunities or supporting economies. We know it's a tough job. But hey, somebody's got to do it. We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
When you look at the world today, what do you see? The obvious, or much more? Do you hear a color tune, or the talents of thousands paying off? Do you see an instant message, or millions of strengthened relationships? Do you see an app or creative entrepreneurs? An email or multiples of successful business transactions? Do you see charity or renewed faith in our shared humanity? Do you hear the laughter of millions of people in Africa's largest family? It's never enough to see only what's before us. That's why MTN is empowering a tomorrow that's driven by digital technology and made for Africa by Africans.
Hello again, you're watching News Extra on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. The Joint Committee on Anti-Corruption says separation of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation from the Minister of Justice will go a long way in strengthening the anti-corruption crusade and Nigeria's criminal justice system. It was at a meeting with the Deputy Assistant Secretary, Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, United States Department of State in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim has the details.
Mr. Alexander Avizu is in Nigeria for the first time. He wants to have a first-hand information on what the Nigerian legislature is doing in strengthening the fight against corruption, recovery of looted funds, implementation of the Criminal Justice Act, and protection of the whistleblowers.
We focus on counter-narcotics cooperation, but also all segments of the civilian security, the justice sector, to fighting corruption.
A cross-section of the Joint Committee members explained the hindrances in the full implementation of the Criminal Justice Act passed by the 7th Assembly.
Lawyers find their own way of coming to courts, in the defense of their clients, engage in time-wasting measures to delay the trial of their clients.
It is not just only lawyers, the judges. Because the judge who is trying a criminal matter or any matter whatsoever has the right to refuse frivolous adjournment.
One of the issues that I see that seems to be a clog in the wheel of progress of the fight against corruption is the fusing of the office of the Attorney General and that of the Minister for Justice.
The committee members emphasized value system reorientation, strengthening of democratic institutions, establishment of special courts to handle corruption cases, detachment of the anti-graft agencies from the executive arm of government, stifling penalties, and a strong political will. The committee, however, solicited collaboration with the U.S. Department of State in the areas of training and technical assistance to personnel who investigate crimes and prosecute offenders in the country's fight against corruption. From the National Assembly, Kenneth Nanim, NTN News.
In the meantime, China has indicated interest to partner Nigeria in business and human rights issues. This was the thrust of the meeting between the delegation of the People's Republic of China and the management of the National Human Rights Commission. Basi Ita-Iwan reports that the Executive Secretary reminded China to strike a balance between business and human rights development.
Nigeria and the People's Republic of China
established formal diplomatic relations in 1971. 45 years on, the relationship has grown thick, with the two countries supporting each other in several developmental strides and economic growth. To further strengthen the ties, China says it will partner Nigeria in the promotion of human rights issues.
Nigeria is a bigger country with a potential power in Africa, also even in world.
The Executive Secretary, Bem Angus, said the partnership is a welcome development as the federal government is committed to the promotion and protection of human rights in the country.
And today we are happy that the Chinese government is not only expressing concerns and commitment in the area of business in Nigeria, but has become increasingly interested in the development of human rights in this country.
The two nations expressed willingness to ensure that the internally displaced persons acquire skills that will be of immense benefit to them when their status changed. In Abuja, Basi Taikbang, NTA News.
From Kaduna comes a report that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the clash between the Nigerian army and members of Islamic movement in Nigeria, known as Shiites, has held its sitting. Austin Anyebe reports that the movement had a legal representative at the sit-in who pleaded for more time to take briefing.
At the inauguration of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the clashes between the Islamic movement in Nigeria and the Nigerian army, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai made it clear to the commission to listen to all parties and submit its report within 6 weeks. Unlike the first sitting that there was no legal representation of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Maxwell Kion announced appearance for the movement at the second sitting. He said efforts have been made to meet with their client with a positive sign that they will interact with the leader of the Islamic movement in no distance time, hence apply for 2 weeks adjournment, even though none of the counsel to the Nigerian army is
allowed to see him and we are properly briefed. Then we can, file a memo.
What the commission is doing is to ensure that everybody is heard.
They are guided by the Commission of Inquiry laws. They know what to do, and I believe that they will do the needful at the appropriate time.
Being that the Judicial Commission of Inquiry is a fact-finding one, the chairman of the commission made it clear that justice will be done to all, hence granted the application by the Council to the Islamic movement in Nigeria. From General Hassan Usman Katsina House in Kaduna, I'm Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
Let's turn our attention to security matters now. The projection of the air power by the Nigerian Air Force against the insurgents in the northeastern part of the country has continued to shape the battle space, thereby creating an enabling environment for the army to effectively tackle the insurgents. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said this in Abuja during a retreat organized for commanders of the service. Defense correspondent KG Busari Ahmad reports.
We've been able to substantially curtail the movement of these people who move around to kill people. Yes, suicide bombings are still there, but for them to actually move in large columns of vehicles and so on is not happening again. And that has enabled our sister service, that is the Army, to really operate more effectively.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, said the service has recorded success in various operations within and outside the country and will continue to improve the technical capacity of its personnel.
We have signed MOU with institutions such as ATBU and Novena University in order to strengthen strategic partnership in research and development.
This commander's retreat is geared towards providing the roadmap for unit commanders of the Nigerian Air Force to reorder their priorities for effective leadership, as the command at any level in the military is indeed the climax of responsibility, especially at a time like this when the country is going through security challenges. In Abuja, KG Busari Ahmed, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Nigerian Navy has commissioned 25 locally made security boats to enhance operational efficiency in Nigeria's maritime domain. Chief of Defense Staff General Abayomi Olonishakin was at the Nigerian naval ship Pathfinder in Port Harcourt for the commissioning. Emmanuel Lene tells us more.
The procurement of the security boats is in furtherance of the Chief of Naval Staff resolve to end crude oil theft and other maritime crimes. Chief of Defense Staff General Olonishakin, while commending the Nigerian Navy for looking inward by contracting the local ship vendors, charged the officers and men of the Nigerian Navy to be professionally committed and put the operational equipment to the best rewarding use.
By your efforts, the maritime landscape of our great nation is gradually being accorded the much-needed security enhancement for our peace and prosperity. It must be appreciated that this is the first time in the history of the Navy that such number of patrol boats will be commissioned at once. And when the fact of their local origin is factored in, then this event truly deserves to be considered a historic milestone.
Governor Nyesom Wike promised to provide the necessary logistics to the Nigerian Navy to aid its operations. The acquisition of these security boats is expected to boost the capacity of the Nigerian Navy in its determination to fight crude oil theft and other forms of maritime illegalities, especially in the Niger Delta region. From the Nigerian Naval Ship Pathfinder in Port Harcourt, I'm Emmanuel Lene, NTA News.
In another development, the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, Alkali Baba Usman, says the state is no longer a suitable place for kidnappers and armed robbers. While addressing journalists, the Commissioner of Police enumerated some of the successes recorded in the fight against crime, including the arrest of suspected kidnappers. Saliu Abdullahi has the report.
The increasing rate of armed robbery and kidnapping in Delta State has been a source of concern among Deltans for some time now. The latest is the kidnap and murder of Obi of Obuluku Kingdom, late Edward Akaize Ofulue III. The Commissioner of Police, Alkali Baba Usman, said officers and men of the command have adopted strategies that are yielding positive results. The arrest and recovery of stolen items, including arms and ammunition, through the State Anti-Robbery Squad is a testimony.
We have arrested 6 kidnappers and rescued victims. We also arrested 8 armed robbery suspects. We have also arrested 2 cultists and recovered 3 locally made guns and 6 live ammunition.
The Commissioner urged Deltans to see the police as partners in the fight against crime by providing them with useful information about criminal activities. Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
And for a bit on climate change, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has called on the 8th National Assembly to enact laws that will compel Nigerians in all sectors of the economy to contribute meaningfully to the global fight against climate change. The minister made the call during an interactive session with the House Committee on Climate Change. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye has the details.
With the consequences of global warming and other negative effects of climate change now evident, the minister is concerned about the widespread usage of non-biodegradable materials in the country. He explains what the ministry is doing to bring to the consciousness of Nigerians the urgency of the situation for the sake of future generations.
Many of our people are incorrigible. They've led the last 50 years of their lives and they think nothing of throwing sachet water nylon paper on the street. This third generation are lost when it comes to environmental education. We must start with the younger ones so that in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, those children would be the ones that will keep the environment safe.
This is something that should be led by the Ministry of the Environment. This is something that I think all of us must then support the ministry as levels of minimum compliance to which we all will sign.
The chairman of the House Committee on Climate Change, Sam Onuigbo, assures that the National Assembly is putting the global threats on the front burner.
We intend to come out with a law that has the power, the reach, to get to different wrongs.
It is expected that the House Committee on Climate Change will engage other ministries, departments and agencies with a view to charting concrete plans on the way forward. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adingley, NTA News.
It is likely that the Senate Committee on FCT may call for the revocation of some plots of land allocated to some members of the National Assembly that may have distorted the Abuja master plan. This discovery came to the fore when some private developers complained to the committee during its ongoing investigation into allocation of plots of land to individuals and groups. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ezumba has the details.
Counsel to Minanual Investment Limited, Falana and Falana's Chamber urged the Committee on FCT to advise Development Control Department of the Federal Capital Territory to grant its client building plan approval over plot ED 1425 to 1420, Lugbe Extension 1, Airport Road, now known as Kiami District, Abuja.
We had already been here before a joint committee of the Senate. We went to court and judgment was given in our favor to say the land in issue belongs to you. Then we are asking that we be allowed to redevelop the land and build an estate to give the house to those that have subscribed for the house.
June 20th, 2011, warning the general public they should stay away from buying or subscribing into any plot of land being developed as an estate. So it was after this Minanual started the development of that estate.
Chairman Senate Committee on FCT, Dino Melaye, who said the general impression is that some of the lands were allocated to lawmakers, stressed that if the committee finds out it is true, it will recommend revocation.
You cannot be requested to mediate in a land dispute and you now become the ultimate beneficiary of that same land. You destroyed 572 houses and then allocated the same land to senators. That one is already an infringement on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
While the committee demands that all relevant documents, including the court papers, be forwarded to it, investigation continues. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NT News.
Members of the House Committee on Maritime Safety, Education and Administration have pledged their support to the federal government's move to make it viable to the oil sector. The members made the pledge when they visited the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency as part of their oversight functions. Ademola Adoye tells us more.
Industry is one of the key sectors of the Nigerian economy. The sector, according to maritime watchers, holds the key to the nation's economic growth and development. Stakeholders in the industry have therefore canvassed policies and programs that will help to unlock the potentials in the sector. The federal government, through the Minister of Transport, has met with stakeholders in the industry so as to partner with them on the way forward. The visit of the members of the House Committee on Maritime to Nimasa is seen as a positive move to unlock the potentials in the sector. The Acting Director General of the agency, Haruna Baba Jauro, reiterated the commitment of the agency to maritime safety and development. He expressed the readiness of the agency to cooperate with government and other stakeholders to achieve the desired growth and development. Chairman of the House Committee on Maritime, Mohammed Umar, said the committee members embarked on the visit in order to adequately be informed on the activities of the agency so as to be able to put in place a legislation that will help to hasten the growth of the sector. Stakeholders are of the opinion that the various visits by the members of the National Assembly to the maritime agencies will yield fruitful result. In Lagos, Ademola Adeoye, NTA News.
The need to chart a new course for the survival of Christian pilgrimage and harness the strength of Christian leaders has been emphasized at the second Christian Pilgrimage Stakeholders Summit in Abuja. Here is Rhoda Obo with the details.
This year's summit brought together captains of industries, church leaders and friends of the Commission to brainstorm on the way forward for Christian pilgrimage in the face of dwindling resources both for state and individuals. With the theme, the role of the church in the sustainability of Christian pilgrimage in Nigeria, Speaker Yakubu Dogara, while commending the NCPC in a strive for self-sustenance, called on the church to take ownership of pilgrimage.
The benefits of prayers and spiritual exercises such as pilgrimage cannot be overemphasized. We encourage more Christians to participate.
To ensuring that spirituality and spiritual growth of Nigerians and Nigeria is sustained by the conversation.
We are the ones to drive Christian pilgrimage and to make it succeed the glory of our God.
The Executive Secretary, NCPC, Mr. Kennedy Okbara, highlighting the strides made by the Commission, says the future of pilgrimage lies in the initiatives and innovations of the Church.
As Christian leaders, our job is not done until we put Christian pilgrimage in our curriculum as a church.
Other speakers called for a renewed commitment of individuals and the Church in sustaining pilgrimage as it continues to serve as a veritable tool for evangelism, moral and spiritual transformation. In Abuja, Rhoda Obo, NTA News.
We have a report on Judges' Conference on Capital Market plus business news. News Extra returns in a few moments from now. Do stay with us.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS calls on all corporate organizations operating in Nigeria to register for the purpose of payment of taxes and obtain a tax identification number TIN. All registered companies must obtain a tax identification number immediately from the nearest FIRS office. You can also collect and return tax registration forms from the Federal Inland Revenue Service Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Teams (FEET) on compliance checks exercise in your area. A company which is yet to commence business after at least 6 months of incorporation must pay a pre-operational levy of 20,000 naira in the first year and 25,000 naira for subsequent years to obtain its tax clearance certificate TCC. Note that filing and payment of VAT and withholding tax returns must be done on or before the 21st day of every month. Register for VAT. File all tax returns as and at when due. Be a responsible corporate citizen of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Why are you filming, Mommy? To help people stop getting sick. People think it's the ever-changing weather during Harmattan that makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including flu.
Dettol, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
As the sun rises over the hills of Abuja, so too dawns a new way of life and exquisite standard of living. Enjoy your own originally designed and quality-built home in the serene and secure environment of Sunrise Hills. Experience this uplifting lifestyle with breathtaking views of the city. Rise above. Sunrise Hills is unlike anything you've ever seen before. A new way of life is dawning in the heart of Nigeria.
Auntie! Hello, my dear. I see you went shopping with your mom, right? And what did you buy?
Power oil. It has 0 cholesterol and 0 trans fats. And contains vitamin A and natural vitamin E. It's a healthy oil for a healthy family.
I'll buy power oil next time I go shopping, huh?
Power oil, healthy for you.
Why are you filming, Mommy? To help people stop getting sick. People think it's the ever-changing weather during Harmattan that makes them sick. Actually, it's the germs. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs, including flu.
Dettol, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
Welcome back. You're watching News Extra on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Let's talk business now. Naira appreciates against the dollar at the parallel market for the second day running as more foreign investors indicate interest in the Nigerian business environment. Here is Amechi Pius with all the business news.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Business News. As Nigerians groan over the depreciating value of the Naira, government has been advised to streamline its monetary policy and come up with viable measures to sanitize the foreign exchange market. This was the view expressed by some stakeholders in an interview with NTA Business News in Lagos. They said the forex market has become a seller's market where activities of operators of the parallel market, otherwise known as black market in Nigeria, have had adverse impact on the local currency.
There is a need for government to look into their activities, see the good side of them, and ensure their certification. Also use them to see how we can manage the economy well.
Those who go to that market to buy would have something that makes them to go and buy. Perhaps not for commercials, perhaps not for productivity, but perhaps for hoarding.
Meanwhile, the Naira has continued to appreciate since the beginning of the week. It rose by 17.3% on Tuesday against the dollar at the parallel market. It traded at 310 Naira from 375 Naira it opened the week. Financial analysts attributed the appreciation of the local currency to inflows of foreign exchange into the forex market. They also attributed the recovery of the Naira to the federal government's stance on not devaluing the Naira. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Christian Jensen, has described Nigeria as an investor's destination with immense opportunities. He made this remark when he led a delegation of businessmen from Denmark to Nigeria to explore areas of investment in the country. The minister disclosed that the Danish 25-member business delegation has indicated interest in sectors like agriculture, power, ICT and security.
We have the money to invest in Nigeria. We're just looking for the right projects and the right, so to speak, economic environment to come here.
Denmark, he added, is establishing cooperation with Nigeria, which is why it opened a consulate office in Lagos. And that's all the business stories. Thanks for watching. Good evening.
And with the fall in global oil prices and Nigeria's quest to diversify her economy, reviving and sustaining high business tempo in the nation's capital market, experts say, is the way to go. Processes to achieving this formed deliberation at the 2016 Annual Judges Workshop holding in Abuja. Isaac Onkoma has the details.
The capital market is described as the live wire of any nation that practices capitalism. Even Nigeria, running a mixed economy blending socialism and capitalism, is not an exception. With the involvement of huge amounts of money and transactions running into trillions, disputes and discrepancies are anticipated in the operations of the capital market. This workshop with theme Effective Disputes Resolution, a panacea for the transformation of the Nigerian capital market, is expected to explore contemporary issues and current trends in the Nigerian capital market and the possible judicial responses to the issues thereof.
The entrenchment of sound adjudicatory processes must be seen as a precursor to world-class capital markets, and so must be accorded the priority.
To sustain a healthy, very competitive and well-regulated capital market system in Nigeria, there must be in place equally effective and efficient dispute resolution mechanisms.
For the Securities and Exchange Commission, there is no better time than now to implement its 10-year master plan in taking Nigeria's capital market to greater heights.
Recently, we inaugurated the National Investor Protection Fund. And SEC, within its limited resources, set aside 5 billion naira, primarily to address the issue of investors' protection. And some 3-4 weeks ago, we paid 530 investors that lost money in the market.
And I strongly hope discussions on these papers will help us to have a more vibrant and robust investment and security tribunal, IST.
Participants have expressed optimism that the outcome of this workshop will go a long way in making the Nigerian capital market a reliable investment. From the National Judicial Institute, Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has called on the D8 Organization for Economic Development to liberalize the issuance of visas as a deliberate policy to boost tourism among member states. The call by the minister came on the heels of the resolve by the D8 to prioritize tourism development among member states as outlined by the Secretary General, Dr. Sayed Musavi. Anthony Forson has the details.
The minister observed that it was not by coincidence that the countries with the highest traffic of tourists are those whose visas are least difficult to access. He told the D8 Secretary General that tourism is one area that the present administration is committed to harnessing its potentials and the renewed drive to diversify the nation's economy.
Tourism has become not just sightseeing, it has become real politics today.
The minister, however, identified the dearth of infrastructure, access to tourism sites, preservation and conservation of cultural heritages, perception and failure to involve the locals in the tourism economy as one of the challenges confronting the development of tourism in Nigeria.
It's not by coincidence that the countries with the most fascinating tourists, attractions, heritages and monuments, they are struggling today to establish tourism.
Lai Mohammed therefore stressed the need for the D8 member states with similar challenges to close rank in order to make the economic bloc a tourist destination. Earlier, the Secretary General of the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperation, Dr. Sayed Musavi, said the organization is doing a lot to integrate its people, governments and economies in order to promote prosperity of member states. He said the D8 had been actively involved in the development of trade, industry, energy and transportation, but it recently resolved to delve into tourism because of its huge potentials for the economic development of member states. The D8 countries consist of Nigeria, Egypt, Malaysia, Indonesia, Iran, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Turkey. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Do stay with us here on News Extra. There is much more ahead for you. Join us again.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
We love tasty food and drinks, but we know they can stain our teeth. And we don't want people to think our teeth are not healthy. That's why Oral-B Pro Health with Whitening is specially designed to remove everyday stains and still give you that Oral-B all-round protection, leaving you with strong teeth everyone can see.
Smile, smile.
Oral-B Pro Health with Whitening. Healthier, stronger teeth in 1 week. Now with more whitening power.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the federal government of Nigeria.
You get 3 kinds of moms. The paranoid mom.
It's hot and it's dirty.
The cautious mom. And the Dettol mom. Only a Dettol mom knows that ordinary soaps aren't enough. She only trusts Dettol to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
We always live together as brothers and sisters. Though we speak different languages and celebrate different cultures, we were still one Nigeria. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, and our children were not cultists. Now, we suspect one another as there are spreads of cultism, bombing, and kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien, kidnapping is criminal, cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Support the Nigeria police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping, and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining clean and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
Thank you for being there. One of the priority areas for economic diversification, which the federal government says it will address, is the creation of a conducive environment for agricultural development that can address food security challenges and create wealth for the nation. Hamza Musa Makarfi reports on initiatives of achieving these targets.
Fresh harvested cabbage from dry season farming in Kaduna State. The farmer is aware he needs to act fast in order not to lose the freshness for the markets to accept the commodity. This supply is specially packaged for Benin in Edo State. 2/3 of Nigeria's labor force are into agricultural practices like this one on subsistence basis to produce vegetables, cereals, tubers and related activities. But they have multiple challenges towards the realization of their dream. Since the 1960 Nigeria's independence, farmers have come under close to 20 different policies and programs articulated by successive administrations in the agricultural sector aimed at boosting production and meeting the nation needs. But stakeholders say over the years, only nomenclature and organizational network defined the changes, as the sector has a long way to go, they insist.
Agriculture is not just about food, it's also about provision of industrial raw materials. For as long as we do not arrange the actors to holistically see how they can be able to collaborate, we will not get it right.
The farmers and those who support and promote their causes are unanimous on the need to change the face of agriculture in Nigeria.
AFAN is only saying that the government should recognize it and put it in the middle of all its decisions. As far as agriculture is concerned, we are partners and stakeholders.
The federal government says there will be priority in creating jobs, establishment of simple crop processing zones, and investment promotion.
So we're encouraging farmers to do at least 2 crops. And by the way, agric is no longer a one-season business. It's an all-year-round business.
In Abuja, Hamza Musa Magalpi, NTA News.
Up next, the News Extra, sports and events from around the world. Join us again.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid, proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Introducing the new Dettol 55-gram soap with the same germ protection and quality at a more affordable price. Buy the new Dettol 55-gram soap for 80 Naira only. Keep your family protected from germs.
So, Afana, not to do so. Na promo. You step on become millionaire. You never hear say NAFDAC don't bring wetin they call mobile authentication service. We go help us know whether medicine na fake or not before we pay. Now, come see. As I scratch this thing wey be like recharge card so, come send the pin to 38353 free of charge. I go call receive text message to confirm. Okay, original. Troy, just like that, we confirm whether medicine na fake or not instant. Now when you sef don wise up, make you help NAFDAC spread the story. Na the way that. Madam, come and take my money.
Now, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, they bring on this message.
Thank you for being there. On the foreign scene, Bolivian President Evo Morales concedes defeat in a referendum aimed at changing the constitution to allow his 4th-term bid. Let's join Ronke Kolawale for more on Global Tidbits.
Burkina Faso's ousted leader Blaise Compaoré has been granted Ivorian citizenship by President Alassane Ouattara. Ivory Coast does not extradite its nationals, a situation which will make it possible for Compaoré to escape from facing trial in his country for his alleged role in the murder of iconic ex-leader Thomas Sankara in 1987. The South African Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says the country's economy is in crisis and called for increasing tax and control of what he referred to as wasteful and corrupt government spendings.
In Kenya, government will be sending more students to Israel to learn dryland farming technology and automated agriculture to promote food production. In Libya, Islamist militants have lost the control of two key neighborhoods in Benghazi to the forces loyal to the eastern government, a situation which caused residents to celebrate and many have returned to their homes. News from Nepal says a small passenger plane that crashed in the western mountainous region claimed all the 23 lives on board. For Global Tidbits, Ronke Kolawole, NTA News.
And for a bit on sports, the Nigeria Football Federation has 4 tiers of football in the country's domestic league. The first Nigeria Professional Football League is now in week 2 for the 2015-2016 season, but the remaining 3 lower leagues are yet to commence. Kick-off dates, selection and election are grey areas yet to be resolved, with stakeholders maintaining different positions. Amanzi Marcus reports that unless the issues are resolved, footballers are the main losers.
The 2015-2016 football season in Nigeria began in earnest with a match commissioner seminar in Abuja with over 1,000 participants. Another set of match officials, the referees, took their turn for 3 days at the Abuja National Stadium in the fitness test, also organized by the Nigeria Football Federation. While all went as planned in the top tier of Nigeria's domestic football league, the same cannot be said of the remaining 3. The National League, the Nationwide League, and the Women's Football League. The league management company, which came on board without election in 2012, has been able to organize the Nigeria Professional Football League for 3 seasons, as the board members were selected by the NFF. Tenure of board members of the remaining 3 football leagues expired in October 2015, and the Nigeria Football Federation Congress of December 2015 voted to constitute new board members by selection instead of organizing the normal board elections as obtainable in the past.
We want them to set up an electoral committee to test issuing out forms for people who want to run for elective position in the Nigerian National League. That way, an election will be done, and we can now move forward.
If they don't want to hold congresses, we will not play the league.
The Nigerian Football Federation is the creator of all of the leagues, and so they are subordinate to the Nigerian Football Federation. If we say elections, it's our business. If we say selection, it's our business.
The Nigeria Professional Football League has 20 club sides, while the National League has 32. The Women's League has 14 club sides in the Premier League and 13 in the second tier, the Nigeria Women Professional League. The Nationwide League has 40 club sides in Division 1, 60 in Division 2, and 65 in the third tier. The kickoff dates of the 3 lower leagues is in contention. In another twist to the raging controversy, the Nigeria Football Federation has jettisoned the kickoff dates and instead constituted 3 committees to restructure the National, Nationwide, and Women's League and report within 4 weeks. This is the FIFA Goal Projects building in the Package B section of the Abuja National Stadium, which accommodates offices of Nigeria's 3 lower leagues. 11 of 14 club sides in the Nigeria Women Premier League have registered for the new season, and so are 21 of 40 club sides in Division 1 of the Nigeria Nationwide League. Whether the Nigeria Football Federation will have its way in selecting board members or conduct elections as demanded by tradition and club owners, only time will tell. In Abuja, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
Time now for the weather prospects.
Hello and thanks for joining us on today's weather update. The north is still under the influence of dust haze, spreading down to the central states and keeping this region in thick dust haze conditions. And on to today's forecast, horizontal visibility of about 2 to 5 kilometers in dust haze are anticipated over the extreme northern region. A further deterioration of 1,000 meters or less are likely around the central states, and partly cloudy to cloudy situations over the southern region in the morning. And much later in the day, do expect some isolated cases of showers over the coastal belt and some inland areas of the south. And for maximum and minimum temperature forecast, do stand by. And that's it from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. Bye for now.
That wraps up this edition of News Extra from the production team and me. Thank you for watching.